A new partnership of nations has begun, and we stand today at a unique and extraordinary moment. The crisis in the Persian Gulf, as grave as it is, also offers a rare opportunity to move toward an historic period of cooperation. Out of these troubled times, our fifth objective, a new world order.
A new world order.
New world order.
A new world order.
A new world order.
New world order.
New world order.
A new world order can emerge. A new era, freer from the threat of terror, stronger in the pursuit of justice, and more secure in the quest for peace. A new world order.
In the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful. In this series of analysis, we begin with various important discussions about an animation called Decoded 2. This animation is very important in terms of symbolism and the analysis of apocalyptic studies. There is ample evidence that the creator of the animation has introduced himself as a teacher, a Masonic mystery teacher, and has attempted to convey messages in a subtle, subliminal way and broadcast them to Masonic audiences around the world. The important point here is that much of the content in this animation has come true over the years, indicating that the animation is of great strategic importance in the world of Freemasons and Illuminati. There's a lot of evidence about the importance of this animation and its secrets, which we will explore in further sections of this animation's analysis. However, we should mention some things first. The company behind the production of this animation is called Heliofant. A look at the company's website, however, reveals a peculiar logo. For instance, in this logo, the point on the letter I has been slightly diverted to the right and is approaching to the letter O, which we shall further discuss in depth. Certainly, the designers of this logo did not design it in this way just for no reason. Furthermore, Heliofant has certain coded meanings. These will be discussed later as well. The animation Decoded 2 was released internationally around 2012 and received several international awards. Nevertheless, it was not broached as well as it should have been over the years. The first significant study of the animation was done after the Notre Dame de Paris cathedral fire in April 2019, which, of course, this occurrence, after 7 years, is not without reason or purpose. A number of individuals and institutions have done studies of symbols, decoding, and rendering of this animation. However, many of these seemingly analytical films are either poorly made or sometimes decoded by the secret societies themselves. This is why a very superficial and deceptive decoding has taken place, which has deviated the audience away from the true story, while the main messages discussed in this animation are those that are referred to as subliminal and exist in multiple layers of context. Many analyses have not addressed these complex issues. Another very important point to note is that many of the analyses that come with this animation are very closed and brief, giving the impression that analyzing the animation has taken only less than half an hour. In truth, it takes 4 to 5 hours, and even more to fully examine its various dimensions. In addition, it's interesting that each symbol used in this animation has multiple layers. Therefore, as we analyze this animation, we will refer to all the layers of each symbol per scene. This is to say that an icon does not merely refer to a single message. Rather, an icon may have 5 or 6 encrypted layers. On the other hand, the making of this 7-minute animation took 4 years. This shows that the process of creating this animation was a very clever one. Indeed, taking such a long time to make an animation of about 7 minutes is due to the maximization of the concentration of messages within these symbols. The question whether the director of this animation is a Freemason, a member of the Illuminati, or a Christian believer may not be answered at the outset. But in the end, we can well understand that the maker of this animation is most likely himself a high-profile Illuminati or a Freemason, and introduces himself as a Masonic tutor, which we shall address further. We shall continue to reveal that over the years, and especially around 2019 and 2020, important messages have been transmitted to Freemasonry and Illuminati members worldwide through this animation. Anyone who has been linked to this cult has received the relevant messages by the means of this animation beforehand, and have deciphered these codes, which is nothing new or strange. Take Ajax operation as an instance. The operation took place in Iran during the coup of August 19, 1953, and when Dr. Mossadegh's government was in power. His government collapsed in the aftermath of a successful coup by American and British mercenaries in Iran. Interestingly enough, the coup's operation was coded via a simple radio message announced by BBC Radio 4 nights in advance. All those involved in the coup, the rioters, people acting in the streets, such as Shaban Bimour or people like General Fazlullah Zahedi, were made aware of when the coup was due to begin by hearing just one sentence through BBC Radio 96 hours ahead of the time. As a result, they knew that their duties had begun to advance the goals of the coup. The coup's code phrase was, "It is now exactly midnight." All those involved in the coup understood that it was the code of the coup's operation, because Mohammad Reza Shah Pahlavi, the former king of Iran, had declared to foreign supporters of the coup, such as the United States and Britain, that he had no confidence in their support for the coup. Hence, if the coup was to take place, BBC Radio's host should have read, "It's now exactly 12 at midnight," instead of "Now it's 12 at midnight," so that he can trust that the necessary coordination has been done. To confirm this, BBC Radio also added the word "exactly" that night, in contrast with how the host usually announced the time. Thus, sending messages through codes is not something new, and this fact has been well documented. In most cases, the code is exchanged through very simple and intangible communication tools such as an animation, a film, seemingly ordinary sentences in the news, and today with tweets, Instagram posts, etc. A very simple sentence in itself may have codes that we will deal with, of course. For instance, Code 52, which was transmitted by Donald Trump before the military confrontation between Iran and the US in 2020 to other members of the global Freemasonry and Illuminati. We shall address this code in due course. Nevertheless, it was essential to mention these facts regarding the animation before the main parts of the analysis began. Analysis of the main parts of the animation. First and foremost, the name of the company that created the animation should be scrutinized more precisely. The name of the animation company is Heliofant. But what does Heliofant mean? Heliofant is a Greek-Roman phrase consisting of two parts, helio meaning the sun, and phant meaning the word, which combined mean the word of the sun. Now, what the expression "the word of the sun" means may not be understandable at the outset, and thus we will refer to it at the end of our analysis. However, in general, the term sun refers to Ra, the sun god in ancient Egypt, which is also a favorite of Freemasons and the Illuminati and quite relevant to the city of Jerusalem. What this relationship is about will be well understood at the end of the animation analysis. In addition to Heliofant's first layer of meaning, which is the word of the sun, the word Heliofant has another meaning as well. The other concept relates to the Grand Tarot cards known as Major Arcana or Great Tarot. Tarot cards are a series of cards used for astrology, entertainment, or the use in mysterious and cryptic rituals by secret societies. The use of certain types of tarot cards, notably the Thoth Tarot, based on the famous Satanist Aleister Crowley's book, The Book of Thoth, and the Rider-Waite Tarot, is well known among the secret groups, Masonic societies, and Illuminati. Tarot cards are classified into two types: Minor Arcana and Major Arcana. Major Arcana cards consist of a series of cards called Trump cards, which have a name similar to Donald Trump's last name. It's amazing to know these cards have been called Triumph or Trump cards since the 15th century, and they do not even belong to the current century. Surely the connections between Donald Trump, Boris Johnson, and other Illuminati members with the characters of the Great Tarot or Tarot Trump cards will be discussed in detail in the final sections of the animation analysis. Considering the discussion on the tarot cards, a very important notion regarding the name of the animation company is the existence of a card called Hierophant. Although Hierophant is not exactly 100% phonetically similar to the word Heliofant, the name of the animation company, there's a strong phonetic similarity between the two terms. Furthermore, the word Heliofant is well known among people familiar with Masonic and Illuminati symbols, reminiscent of the Hierophant tarot card. This style of encryption and decryption has been done before. In other words, Hierophant and Heliofant are phonetically similar, and each brings the other to mind. Hence, in the second layer of decoding the term Heliofant, similar to the Hierophant card, we arrive at the Major Arcana, and we must discover its secret meanings based on this kind of connection. In Major Arcana and in a card called Hierophant, there's a figure sitting on a preaching pulpit. The meaning of the word Hierophant is master and mentor. Hierophants, or saints, were or are those who would enter ritual meetings and interpreting the sacraments to individuals. These people, the Hierophants, were the ones who, as the religious leader of the secret rituals, were responsible for holding the secret rituals. Surprisingly, the Hierophants were allowed to reveal their views or confidential secrets to those who were deemed purified, or alternatively to remove those who they considered untrustworthy from their circle. Hierophants then have long been famous and have played their role as teachers in secret and encryptic rituals. Given this explanation, in addition to calling itself the Word of Sun, it seems that the animation company is introducing itself as a Masonic leader, an Illuminati master, and a cryptic mystery teacher. It must divulge Masonic secrets to those who know the order and keep it away from those who are not trustworthy. This is why the company is named Heliofant, in correspondence with Hierophant. This is precisely what the director of the animation has done, placing burnt, banal, and preempted information in the first layers for ordinary people to prevent them from reaching the deeper layers. In the deeper layers, he has taught the core information to Freemasonry and Illuminati members around the world, providing them with Masonic plans in the form of codes. Nevertheless, in the third layer, there's another important point in the logo of the animation company. As you can see, in the logo of the animation company and in the word Heliofant, all the English letters are capital letters. In spite of this, the letter I is dotted. Furthermore, the point on the letter I is also peculiar, and it is angled between letters I and O. This kind of seemingly incorrect or unexpected use of letters and numbers is a common way of recognizing where to decrypt the coded information in decoding of the alphabetical codes. In fact, this kind of writing reminds the target audience of the director of animation that this unusual alphabet contains an important password, and the audience must decode accordingly. Here, too, the presence of the point and the letter I next to O in the Heliofant expression, which is written in all capital letters while I is unexpectedly dotted, points to a very important code. This point and the letter I, which is deviated over to O, is the symbol of the Regulus star, which is frequently mentioned in this animation, and will be decoded in later sections of the animation analysis. But in this section, it is important to note that many of the apocalyptic timetables, orientations, political, economic, and cultural activities of the Illuminati-dominated countries that were referred to are tied up to the Regulus star or Alpha Leonis. Especially, the Regulus star is known as the lucky or glorious star of the kings of Persia for thousands of years. In comparison, the Regulus star is also a very important astronomical sign for the global Freemasonry and Illuminati. They look at the events of the apocalypse and seek to eliminate Iran as their greatest enemy and establish their great Masonic and Illuminati empire in the New World Order in Jerusalem. This issue will be discussed in detail in the next sections of the animation analysis, and we urge the esteemed audience to be patient in this regard. Before starting the scene-by-scene analysis of the animation, we should note that the animation I, Pit Goat 2 is by no means of prophecy. This is to say that the director is not aware of the future events because of the prophecy. Rather, the director himself is a senior member of the Illuminati and Freemasonry and has attempted to encode and publish a plan that Freemasons and Illuminati members have made for the future all over the world. Incidentally, one of the interesting features of this animation is that it takes 7 minutes to complete, from its beginning to its end, the moment when the word Heliofant fades and disappears. This notion is related to the fact that it took exactly 7 years from the year 2012 when the animation I, Pit Goat 2 was released, and then mysteriously disappeared from public debate until the year 2019, when the Notre Dame Cathedral caught fire and the animation I, Pit Goat 2 became mainstream again. In other words, even the 7-minute animation, from its beginning to its end, and fading of the Heliofant logo is encrypted within itself, meaning that while the animation is expressing the events of its pre- and post-war years, its original message will be transmitted 7 years after its creation, through a process that alerts the exact timing to Freemasonry followers. It can also be seen that the content of this animation is full of mystery, and its decoding has to be done in several layers, using different methods and information. In this section, we will analyze the main part of the animation. Animation I, Pet Goat 2 begins with a dark, snowy scene. What is noticeable is an enclosed space in a snow-covered land in a frozen climate. This sequence points to the deadly atmosphere in the apocalypse, a space that is fraught with despair, enclosed in limitations. At the beginning of the scene, the scenery is dark, but suddenly a light shines on a perforated wooden box. This light is in the sense of an evil light of the satanic Illuminati and Freemasonry. The word Illuminati is derived from the word illumination. Illumination means to shine light and to glitter. This is why wherever you see the light in the animation, it means that whatever is happening under the light is happening under guidance of Illuminati. Therefore, when the light shines on each item in this animation, it means that it happened under the complete guidance of the Illuminati. Thus, the light's meaning here is twisted as well. At the bottom of the box hole is also a childish drawing in which a hunter man is holding a dog back by force, and the dog is close to getting away from the hunter and attached forward. At first, it may seem a bit vague. Who is this character? Moreover, why was he drawn on the box at all? This person resembles a hunter who is holding the dog's leash by force, while the dog barks, trying to escape. This image may seem a bit trivial, but we will note later that it is in fact quite meaningful. Referring to two constellations, One is the Canis Major, or the Great Dog constellation, and the other is Orion, or the Hunter constellation. We will address this in the following scenes as to what the two relevant images, the constellations of Canis Major and Orion, have to do with apocalyptic events. In general, these images show that everything is ready for the dog's escape and release, because it is barking and the hunter is holding it back by force. This is a sign, and it secretly states that in later scenes, we will probably see this dog being released. Nevertheless, the questions regarding the constellations of the Great Dog and the Orion or the Hunter will be fully explored in the next scenes. As the scene unfolds, it is suddenly seen that a goat pulls its head out of the box hole. This goat is well known and is part of the previously leaked information. In fact, this goat shows us the symbol of Baphomet, or the goat-headed god, which is also an image of Satan. As soon as the goat pulls its head out, a barcode is noticed on its forehead. The barcode represents the number 666, both in barcode and numeric form. And as we know, this number is known as the mark of the beast, or the mark of the Antichrist in the Christian world. Therefore, this picture also symbolically shows that under the Illuminati light, processes are being formed that are associated with the Antichrist movements in the apocalypse. In these images, it is observed that as soon as the Baphomet pulls its head out, it rotates it, giving its eyes a hypnotic state. This move refers to how hypnosis and deception of public opinion would be done by the social media during the Antichrist's order. This previously leaked information led by the director to cover himself. He tries to show that he's disclosing such low-level information in the form of a benevolent person. However, these points are detectable and the director's unclean intentions are not concealed, and will be well understood in the future sections of the animation's analysis. In the same scene, we can see that two large pillars, symbolizing the WTC's Twin Towers, are burning, referring to the suspicious events of September 11, 2001 in New York, USA. Also at the same time, a phrase "I pet goat" is displayed in the form of a few cubes, followed by a number 2 in Roman numerals. Thus, if we count the number of letters, their total is 9, and the two numbers that are written in Roman form actually resemble 11. Finally, in this part, we see the 9/11 symbolism, which is related to September 11, 2001. This relates to images of the burning towers and the context of the scene, and again another aspect of the symbolism of 9/11. In addition, I Pet Goat 2 has an important notion concerning 9/11. On September 11, George W. Bush was sitting in a classroom reading a book alongside students and teachers. The name of the book was The Pet Goat. In one of the videos of George Bush in that class, at the very first moment when students and teachers attempt to read The Pet Goat and open the book, it appears that news of the 9/11 attacks is given to George Bush.
Read these words the fast way without making a mistake. Get ready.
Kite.
Yes, kite. Get ready.
Kit.
Yes, kit. Get ready.
Seal.
Yes, deal. Get ready.
Rain.
Yes, lane. Get ready.
Must.
Yes, must. Go to your speaker reader up from under your seat. Open your book up to lesson 60 on page 153. At the count of 3, everyone should be on page 153. The yellow paper is going to Bob. You drop it. Thank you. Everybody touch the title of your story. Fingers under the title. Get ready to read the title the fast way. Waiting for one member. Thank you. Fingers under the title of the story. Get ready.
Go, let's go.
Yes, the pet goat. Fingers under the first word of the story. Get ready to read the story the fast way. Get ready.
A girl had a pet goat.
Go on.
She liked to go hunting with her pet goat.
Go on.
She played with her tail.
Try it again. Get ready from the beginning of that sentence. Get ready.
She played with her goat in her house.
Go on.
She played with her goat in her yard.
Good job. Go on.
Of course, high-ranking Freemasons like George W. Bush knew well in advance what was going to happen, and that was why the whole scene was fabricated. The important point, however, is that the phrase "the pet goat" refers to the event of George Bush attending a school and listening to the book "The Pet Goat" being read to him. At the same time, the news of 9/11 attacks was relayed to him. In fact, the phrase "the pet goat" is an encrypted code that was transmitted from George W. Bush from the mentioned classroom to the members of the global Freemasonry and the Illuminati to announce the beginning of the international Masonry movements to begin the Antichrist's world rule. Therefore, the name of this animation, I Pet Goat 2, refers to the same book, The Pet Goat, related to the 9/11 event. There are, of course, differences. The phrase I Pet Goat states, I'm a goat and a domestic pet. This phrase is the secret acknowledgement of the director, its sponsors, and their affiliates, devoted to the devil. In fact, the creator of this animation have dedicated it to the devil and have introduced themselves the devil's pets. However, the number 2 mentioned in the name of the animation, released in 2012, indicates that the pet goat process has already taken place and that the purpose of this animation is not to replicate the past. It tells of a great event in the future, which they named as Pet Goat 2. In fact, we know that this animation has no prequel at all, and this is the only animation made with this title. Thus, the number 2 in the name of this animation is for the only animation made in this series to demonstrate future events that are as important as the events of 9/11. It is imperative that we analyze the events depicted in this series. In the next scene, we see further emphasis on 9/11 indications. The blank or white cubes are faded away, and the colored cubes and the Roman numeral 2 remain, forming a total of the 9/11 symbols. Within the next scene, we see 2 hands coming out of darkness, bearing 2 symbols. One is the symbol S, which is golden, possibly made of gold, and appears as a ring in the left hand. This golden S refers to Satan in the first layer, because the first letter of the word Satan is S. In the second layer, the golden S is a dollar, in the sense of a trade in which a line is crossed. Both layers in this symbol indicate that all the events that Illuminati and Freemasonry follow in the apocalypse all come under the influence of Satan, with the injecting of enormous resources of money and the wealth that the satanic institutions have accumulated. In the character's right hand, we see a blood-stained heart symbol, which may seem strange now, but let us analyze it further. The symbol, which ironically refers to the Sacred Heart or the Sacred Heart of Christ, in Christianity is actually the heart of the Antichrist. In fact, this heart is not a sacred heart. And in the next scenes, we will understand why it is not and why it belongs to the Antichrist. Another important point to note is that the character we see in the dark controlling the puppet is Lucifer, or the devil, especially since his skin is scaly and looks like a reptile. As we know, the subject of reptilians is related to demons, and this is addressed in the discussion of demonology. Therefore, the skin color seen here as dark and scaly indicates that the character to whom these hands belong is one of the reptilians, beasts or demons. We know that the Satan or the devil himself was of the jinn tribe. Next, we see the movements that this evil hand with long nails and bloody fingers makes, shaking a lifeless doll. When this lifeless doll is shaking, we see the familiar face of George W. Bush, who in the first few shakes is motionless, but gradually resembles a living creature. So far, we have seen the scene in darkness, but now we see Illuminati's light shining on George Bush's face in the form of a five-pointed inverted star, or pentagram. This light is the Illuminati light, and this person is George Bush himself. No longer do we see the strings attached to the George Bush as these illuminating lights shine. This is with the help of the Illuminati magic. We do not realize at all that the tyranny of the Freemasons in the world is in the hands of the devil. Moreover, it is very important to note from this scene that the Illuminati made sure that we think people like George W. Bush, Trump, or Obama are powerful and independent, while they are all controlled by the devil. With the endeavors of satanic organizations like Freemasonry and Illuminati, we forget such connections and assignments. In the following scene, you can observe George Bush performing exotic movements and short dances on a checkered floor. This checkered floor, in black and white, represents two parallel worlds: the human world in white and the world of jinns in black. This checkered floor is also found in many Masonic lodges. This image shows that the countries in which international politicians work are completely Masonic and Masonic-backed places. In the following scene, it is noticeable that the whole room is gradually illuminated by the Illuminati light, and we here see George W. Bush sitting on a purple chair at the foot of the blackboard. When George W. Bush is seated on the chair, new elements appear in George W. Bush himself and his surrounding. One of these elements is the English letter D, which appears on the hat on George Bush's head. This letter D is very important and can be interpreted in several layers. In the first layer, the letter D refers to the word dubia, which is related to George Bush himself, because dubia is the nickname for George W. Bush the son, to distinguish him from George W. Bush the father. In other words, since we have two George Bushes, George Bush the father and George Bush the son, these terms and phrases are used to distinguish between the two. The word W in some southern states is referred to as dublia, dubia, or dubia. So, in the first layer, the letter D refers to George Bush's nickname, Dubia. In the second layer, the letter D on George Bush's hat refers to the D-Day or Doomsday, which means the day of judgment, or the day of great event. As we know, the term D-Day or Doomsday is a well-known expression, and in many cases, it is used to refer to important and historic events, such as the Allied attack on Normandy in World War II. So here, the letter D is in the sense of D-Day, Doomsday, Decision Day, or the Day of Judgment and Apocalypse as well. We know what happened in the 9/11 attacks was a D-Day or Doomsday event, or the Day of Masonic Resurrection, after which various events were launched around the world, including the invasion of Afghanistan and then Iraq and the subsequent massive US presence in the Middle East. Thus, this symbol is quite unambiguous. Another point is that George W. Bush's hat resembles a birthday hat, indicating that George W. Bush's character is lively and villainous, and alludes to the culture called Bushism, which was popular in the United States during George W. Bush's presidency. At the time, all kinds of literature disgrace, weird moral issues, and so on were known as Bushism. Hence, this type of baby hat also points to the character of George W. Bush. There are many elements around George Bush. One of the elements is a map of the United States of America on the wall, 4 points of which are pinned by tacks, pointing to 4 important actions that Illuminati has done. What are these 4 important actions? These 4 important actions include the Oklahoma blast in Oklahoma City, the Hurricane Katrina in the southeastern United States districts like New Orleans, the disaster of the Gulf of Mexico oil spill, and the site of the destruction of the World Trade Center Twin Towers in New York City. In all of these instances, there were enormous casualties of humans, animals, and plants, and they were practically a great sacrifice in front of the devil in secret rituals. These events have occurred in less than 30 years, and many researchers have reported the Illuminati's tracks in these events. In the first layer of this symbology, we find that these 4 regions are 4 locations in which Illuminati and Freemasonry have caused human and environmental catastrophes. For example, in the case of Hurricane Katrina, a big question mark was raised over the delay in providing timely assistance to those affected by the hurricane. Then the issue of the Gulf of Mexico oil spill surfaces. These events may not have been bombings like Oklahoma or 9/11, but many aquatic animals and birds as well as people were killed in either instance. In principle, human sacrifice and sacrifice of animals and living things has been one of the rituals repeatedly performed by Illuminati to please the devil. For instance, the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombs exploded in 1945, and hundreds of people, animals, and plants were sacrificed to the Satan. so that Freemasons could enter a new era where the center of power was transferred from the former superpowers such as England and France to the United States. It goes without saying that this happened 169 years after the Declaration of American Independence in 1776. It is fascinating that 169 is the result of multiplying 13 by 13, which is the sacred Masonic number. In addition to the above, which were discussed as the first layer of information in the above elements, further important points are observed in the next layers. Thus, if we look at the orientation of the tags on the map, we come across a pattern similar to the 4-star pattern of Canis Major constellation. The most important star in this constellation is the famous Sirius star. This is where the September 11, 2001 Masonic resurrection began, exactly where the Sirius star's position in Canis Major matches with the pattern in the map above. Another important point about the Sirius star is that it also has an important connection to the constellation of Orion. The most important connection between Sirius and Orion is that the Orion belt, containing 3 stars of power or 3 stars of kingdom, is especially aligned with Sirius, Canis Major's most luminous star, in the month of September. 2 important points are driven from this. The global Freemasonry and the Illuminati deliberately set up the September 11, 2001 terrorist incident as the secret code for the start of the Antichrist's return operation in the apocalypse, precisely in September, because astronomically, September is the time of the special alignment of the Orion or Hunter belt with the star Sirius. And because of this astronomical event, Freemasons consider September as important and deliberately attribute the September 11, 2001 event to this astronomical event. Secondly, the animation Decoded 2 also uses the same theme, since the location of the tags on the class map in this animation corresponds to the 4 main stars of the Canis Major constellation and the location of the September 11, 2001 event on the map. The tag located in the sync with the Sirius star is intended to convey, in secret, to Freemasons and Illuminati members around the world, the message of September 11, 2001 as the initiator of Freemasonry apocalyptic events. This is all done with symbols related to the Sirius star. In the same scene, on the wall of the classroom, we see an owl, which is a symbol of the secret and Masonic groups, such as the Bohemian Grove and the like. The symbol is seen in films released by groups such as the Bohemian Grove, in which members of this group are worshipping an ancient owl-like god in the Bohemian bush. This indicates that the owl is very valuable in Masonic symbolism. Another important point is that the owl also symbolizes Lilith, who is a domestic figure among the ancient nations, known by various names such as Lilith, Lilitho, etc., which we will refer to in other parts of the animation. As for Lilith, it is said to be the mother of the snakes and dragons, and this description is also used in the Game of Thrones TV series, which we will mention in due course. In many texts, Lilith is also referred to as the Queen of Owls. That being so, in this animation, the image of an owl also refers to the evil goddess Lilith. In this book, you see the image of Lilith described as the Dragon Queen. Lilith was officially known in royal genealogies as the beautiful Dragon Queen of the Anunnaki. Queens of the Dragon Court, the Owl Queens, were likened to lilies, lotus flowers, which spawned names such as Lilith, Lili, Lulawa, and Lilith. However, there's another interesting factor about the owl image in the classroom. The owl is portrayed in a way that if you look at the picture attentively, you see the face of a wolf or a dog. In fact, the director of the animation has not even painted a clear mouth and beak for the owl, for it to remain vague and resemble an owl while at the same time resembling the head of a dog or a wolf. This image looks like a dog and a wolf. Again, in the second layer of this analysis, indirectly referring to the constellation Canis Major and to the famous star of this constellation, Sirius. Thus, it is again cryptically referring to the events of September 11, 2001, which occurred at the same time as the astronomical event of special alignment of the star Sirius with the Orion constellation belt.